everyone. Welcome back to Susan Dawn Spiritual Connections. Welcome to a brand new sacred channeling. These are our in-depth channelings where we go deep into the sacred union and ascension journey. This is a big one. Get comfortable. We're going to cover a lot today. I had intended on doing this channeling tomorrow. However, I'm going through my own process right now. This morning was kind of a rough morning, and I realized that there is something breaking free, breaking open, and it's all connected to this energy. And so I thought, let's just go in raw and real. Let's just do this channeling, and together let's see what this is all about. Now, I do have notes that has been coming through over the past week that we're going to talk about, including Neptune and Aries. What does this mean? Some of the phrases I've been getting, a poem that I've been channeling for the past couple of weeks. It's big energy, and we had channeled that March was going to be big energy moving into April, and it's the eclipse season with the retrogrades. We had Mercury retrograde that has just gone direct. We have Venus retrograde that is going direct at the end of this week. The eclipse season is closing out, and we're not the same as when we first started at the beginning of March. We're not going to be the same. And it really depends on how you've been navigating these energies, whether it was difficult, if you were in a little bit of resistance to your own transformation, or if you were in surrender. You might have been going through some breakthroughs, having some revelations, but it might have felt a little bit more peaceful. For myself, I feel like I've been in a little bit of a void. There's been a slowdown, there's been a pause, and in that stillness, I've been going through my own upgrade and my own initiation. And that's what this eclipse season, this March and April energy has all been about. It's been about an initiation and an activation. And they're two sides of the same coin. They're two parts of the transformation. One of the things that I was called to is we are channeling this reading, or we are doing this channeling on April 9th. Now remember that these messages are meant to be timeless, especially as we're talking about Neptune and Aries. This is going to be a very long transit. Neptune hasn't been in the sign of Aries for 164 years. And so as we're channeling specific cosmic events or specific dates, remember that the messages behind them are meant to be timeless. Take them as they resonate for you. The significance of April 9th is the 4-9 boils down to a 13 number. And I was called to that because, again, I'm going through my own process right now. I'm going through my own initiation, activation into a new level of myself, and I can feel that expansion. And right now it kind of feels like the arrow being drawn back. It feels like a little bit of a pressure, like I'm ready for more, I'm ready to go. But it's almost like the universe is saying, not quite yet. There's still something cooking. There's still some energy that's moving. And so the 13 number in tarot is the death card. And the death card is all about transformation, the ending of the old and moving into the new. And remember, our ascension journey teaches us that you can't have the old without the new. You can't have the new without the old. It is part of the same circle. It's the Ouroboros. It's part of the same cycle of life. Kali Ma once taught us it is called the cycle of creation, that you can't have beginnings without endings. You can't have creation without destruction. And similarly, any destruction creates new creation. Any ending creates a new beginning. And allowing ourselves to be in that in between, allowing ourselves to sit in that stillness, allowing ourselves to be in that surrender is part of the process, is part of the journey. Holding that space. We talked a lot about this in our Sacred Shifts workshop, which was a big workshop, beautiful workshop. It is one of the most sacred channelings that I hold close to myself, because it showed us so much about the journey, about timeline shifts and what to do, how to navigate these transitions, not just with these cosmic support energies, as I like to call it, the retrogrades and the eclipses and portal dates. Those are all cosmically supporting us. It's not just about that. It is also, what are we consciously choosing? How are we consciously choosing to shift? Now, these portal dates and retrogrades and eclipses, they amplify, they bring to the surface anything that needs to be cleared out, anything that needs to be revealed, anything that needs to be clarified, anything that needs to be made conscious so that we can make that conscious decision, we can make that conscious choice to shift, because any shift is just a conscious choice. It's your empowered being, your empowered decision, you are creating your reality. And collectively, the more of us who are empowered and creating our realities, our individual realities, from a conscious place, bringing more peace, more joy, more anchoring, more faith, more love. And I'm not talking about performative spirituality, I'm talking about sacred spirituality, I'm talking about sacred love, divine love. Not just love with a counterpart, but the love that you hold within yourself. The more of us who are anchored into that energy, the more we create from a collective standpoint. That is unity consciousness. And so we are consciously always moving through new doorways, new gateways, new portals. But you are the portal. And that's something to remember too. And so, if you want to check out that Sacred Shifts workshop, that timeless workshop, to help you navigate any of these amplified cosmic energies, or even just your own conscious portals and gateways, make sure that you're joining our Higher Heart Academy, where you go deep into your own transformation, deep into your embodiment, and you are supported, guided, and illuminated the entire way. I want to start by talking about my own personal experience beginning last Sunday. And that's significant. And I realized it was significant as soon as it started. I did a sacred union channeling, and I could feel like I was coming down with something. I could feel my throat getting raw. I could feel like I was coming down with a head cold. And sure enough, that's happened. Now, I have not been sick in over 2 years. I've been very mindful, working on my health, working on my body, taking care of myself, and being very cognizant of when I can push myself and when I need to rest and pause. And that's part of the balance that I've been finding within myself over these couple of years. Finding that work-life balance, finding that health life balance, really being mindful of myself and my body and my health, and making that my primary focus. And so last Sunday, I started to get sick, and I said, okay, well, if I do, I do. Now, the beginning of April was going to be very busy for me. I had a fundraising event. I was going to do a tarot reading fundraiser on the heels of that event. There's new courses and programs that I'm bringing to light, a new book that I'm writing. So there's a lot that was happening, but I ended up getting sick, full throttled sick, snot filled, head cold, like could not do anything but sleep and stay in bed, the whole gamut. It was full throttle. And so I just allowed myself to surrender rather than pushing myself, which had been my pattern in the past. I just said, you know what? Without guilt, without shame, I am going to reschedule the event. I'm going to push back the fundraiser reading. I'm just going to allow myself this space. And I slept. I took naps with my dog and my cat. I watched some TV or read a book. I just allowed myself to take care of myself, gave myself those 4 or 5 days of whatever it is that I needed. I was also meant to take care of a friend who was having surgery. I have other family members who are going through their own health crisis that I'm caring for. And rather than pushing myself to care for them, I arranged it so that they were cared for. I connected with them and talked to them, told them what was going on with me, and pushed everything back. I just allowed myself to, rather than sacrificing myself, rather than being in a place of overgiving, saying, okay, this is what my body's calling for. And if I hadn't been sick, I very well might have pushed myself, but that was necessary. It was like my whole body was getting reset. It was like I was called to shut down physically, because otherwise I probably would have pushed myself. Now, it's interesting because the day that it started was the day that Neptune transited into Aries. And we're going to talk deeper about Neptune and Aries coming up. But again, that transit hasn't happened in 164 years, since the 1800s. It has been a very long time since we've seen that transit. It is a powerful energy. It is as into the fire as you can get. And that's exactly what I experienced for myself. In the stillness, in the shutdown, in the reset, I was going through my own upgrade, going through my own activation. But rather than trying to figure it out, I just allowed myself to sit in it. I just allowed myself to be in it. And in one of our recent sacred channelings, I think it was called Into the Fire, or Into the Fire channeling, I had talked about how in our Sacred Shifts workshop, we channeled a metaphor of being in a living room that's empty. You've cleared out all the old furniture, you're waiting for the new furniture to come in, and that new furniture is your conscious choice, what you are consciously creating. Maybe you had that old furniture based on an old version of yourself or an unconscious version of yourself, and now the new furniture is coming in. But rather than waiting in the threshold of the doorway and looking down the street and saying, "Where's my furniture? Where's the truck? Where is it coming in?" You're just crowding the doorway. You're just resisting yourself. You're just pushing that away. And so, what we had channeled was just sitting in that empty living room, sitting in the stillness and allowing yourself to be. And that's exactly where I was. And in that stillness, I received so much clarity, so much insight, and so much initiation and activation. This was a pause, this was a surrender, but it was necessary in order to allow myself to receive this initiation and this activation. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but first I want to talk about how over the past 2 months, 3 months or so, I've been undergoing my own learning, my own studies in homeopathy. A beautiful client of mine is a homeopath. Actually, a couple of clients of mine, soul sisters, are certified homeopaths, and it's something that has sparked my interest because I had a couple of issues come up with family members and myself and my animals who were going through their own situations. And so, with myself, my health being the number one priority, wanting to really get to that next level of myself and my health, having gone through my own journey with my health, I said to myself, you know what? I'm really called to this. And so I began taking courses, I began doing research and learning. And with this head cold, and it was miserable. Let me just say, I've not felt that physically miserable in a really long time. It was miserable. And so I started taking these remedies. Um, and there was one specifically, I'm not going to mention what it is, but there was one specifically that was working, that I kept getting called to and that kept doing the trick. And out of my own curiosity, I said, I know that there's always something beneath the surface. I know that there's always a spiritual component to whatever it is that we're experiencing physically. And so I looked up the spiritual properties, and sure enough, it was initiation through spiritual fire, which is what a head cold is. It is a purge of the old energy. It is, when you have a fever, it is literally your body is inflamed, your body is on fire, you're releasing that fire. So this was initiation through spiritual fire. This was the archetype of the seer oracle, which I'll get into that, what happened with that. And this was also the dark divine feminine rising. It was an awakening of the suppressed fire within. And if you guys have been with me for a while, you know that especially over these past 6 months, past 2 years, I've been initiated and working with Kali Ma. But especially over these past 6 months, I've reached another level of that wild feminine within myself, embodying that wild feminine, that dark divine feminine, that other aspect of myself. Remember, the feminine isn't just one thing. She's the maiden, the mother, the crone. She's the nurturing energy. She's the fire. She's the loving energy that is depicted as Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, Kuan Yin, forgiveness, compassion, and light. But she is also the fierce warrior. She's the compassionate warrior of Kali Ma. She is unapologetically herself. And this is the energy that has been rising and anchoring into me within the past 6 months. Well, since November, where I was initiated into that, but really embodying that now. And so it feels like it was no coincidence that I was really called to this as I was going through this sacred purge, as I was going through this reset, this energetic reset, as I was in this stillness. And the stillness is the living room of our embodiment, where we're anchoring in, where we're integrating this energy. So over that past week, last week, I kept seeing flashes of blue light in my vision. And what was interesting about this is I'd experienced that same blue light when I was in Glastonbury at Chalice Well, where my soul sisters and we kind of separated. And the way that we separated was interesting too. We separated into kind of like a formation where it was like a triangle. One soul sister went to my right, one soul sister went to my left, and here I was in one other part of the garden where we could still see each other, still surrounding the well, but we went to our own separate places for our own meditation and connection. And I'll put a lot of links in the description box if you'd like to check out some of these channelings or some of these reflections that I had done about all this energy, all these stories that I'm sharing. What was interesting is as I was in reflection, it wasn't quite meditation, it was just reflection. My eyes were open. I saw along the pavestones this blue light coming up from the pavestones itself, and it looked like there were runes, like there were symbols, and it looked like they were runes. Um, Ancient runes. And I don't read runes. I don't know what they are, or I should say, I don't know how to translate them. But that's what I was seeing. It looked like codes, not light language like I usually channel, but it looked like runes, like symbols. And I remember how amazing it was because it was within my actual physical vision. Now, this week I was seeing that same blue light, not with the symbols, but that same blue light. Flashes of that, very brief flashes. So for a moment, I would be like, did I imagine that? Did I actually see that? But then it began to happen more and more often. And again, it wasn't happening within my third eye or my higher vision. It was happening with my physical vision, my physical eyes. And so I think it was like the fourth day or the fifth day, I decided just to talk with God about this. It felt like divine protection. Archangel Michael had been with me, Archangel Raphael had been with me through that sickness, helping me to heal. I was calling in protection, I was calling in higher guidance, and in this communion with God. And I'm going to share with you guys, it is the wildest thing. I was literally in the bathroom. Spirituality is not beholden to an altar. It is not beholden to being out in the gardens or the woods. Spirituality happens wherever you are. You are connected to God in every moment and everything. And so I'm sharing that. I'm almost embarrassingly sharing that because I want you guys to understand how organic and natural your spiritual embodiment is. That you are always connected to God no matter where you are. So I was literally in the bathroom and I saw that blue light again. I said, okay, God, just show me whatever it is that I need to see. I said, I will follow you wherever it is that you need to guide me. I will follow you because I trust you. I have faith in you. I am surrendered to you. I said, I will go where you guide me. And I felt it within my whole being, that trust, that faith, that anchoring in. And what I saw was, again, that blue light. And within that blue light was a gold ankh, just like the one I'm wearing, just like the one over there, but without all the symbols on it. It was a gold ankh that I saw descending and anchoring into my third eye. And I felt that rebirth. I felt that faith. I felt that trust in myself and in God, being one and the same. You're not separate from God. As you connect with and trust in yourself, the more you're connecting and trusting in God's source. It is one and the same. It is not separate. You are never separate. And that's what your embodiment truly shows you, that you are never and have never been separate. And that also applies to your sacred union. You've heard us say that with your counterpart. You are and always have been in union. You are never separate, even if it seems like it. That is the illusion. Separation is the illusion. And so, as we've been channeling for many, many years, the Oracle of Delphi reminds us to know thyself. The more you know yourself, the more you connect with yourself, your authentic truth, the more you're connected to God's source, because it is the soul that is speaking, the soul that is connecting, the soul that you are connecting to. You're connecting to yourself, not the facade, not the persona, not the masks, not who you think you should be. You're connecting to your authentic truth, your soul self. And that's what true embodiment is. That's what it's all about. And that is what Neptune and Aries is showing us. So, this was surrender, it was initiation, and it was activation. For the past couple of days, I've been getting the phrase holy fire, and that's what this Neptune and Aries energy is all about. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about Neptune and Aries. Like I said, this transit happens every 164 years. This is a long transit. What does this mean? Well, dreamy and idealistic Neptune is going toe to toe with that fiery energy, the action oriented Aries. Aries is a planet of action, movement, even the planet of war. But not war. It could be war the way that we think about war, but war as in courage, war as in standing for each other. And I want you to remember that. Standing for each other, standing for yourself, standing up for something. That is the war that we're talking about. And it's not war as in what we think war to be. It is war as in where has there been conflict and where are you reconciling that conflict. That's what Aries is all about. Aries is standing up for yourself, standing up for others. Aries is about reconciling that conflict in a harmonious way. Now, Aries isn't known to be harmonious, and that's where you have the other end of the spectrum, Libra, which is the balance, which is the harmony. And so when you have the 6 months uh, away from Aries is Libra. And so when you have that in balance, when you have that in harmony, it is tempering that fiery Aries energy. But that fiery Aries energy is necessary. I'm a Libra sun and an Aries moon. I feel that sense of harmony. I feel that sense of balance. I feel that fiery sense of justice that's always ignited, and that has especially been ignited over these past 6 months, 9 months now, over these past, year or so. And it's coupled with that ignition of fire. It's coupled with that Aries energy of wanting to reconcile any of that place where there's conflict within myself, any of the place where there's conflict within the world. So it's not war as in doing battle or against others. It's war as in where are you finding that harmony through the conflict? Where are you needing to speak up? Where are you needing to express yourself in your full authenticity, in your full authority? Where are you needing to be the leader for yourself? That's the energy of Aries. So what does this transit mean? This transit is a spiritual initiation. It's a divine fire that is igniting new awakenings, higher levels of being, and rapid forward movement. Neptune this is a very interesting transit because Neptune is a higher octave of Venus, which again is Libra energy. It's a higher octave of Venus, Libra, Taurus energy. But in this stance, we're looking at it from the essence of Libra, which is again the opposite of Aries, or the other end of the zodiac spectrum from Aries. But that's where they bring harmony to each other. That's where they bring balance to each other. Neptune is limitless. Neptune is beneath the veil. Neptune is all about spirituality, transcendence. Neptune is about boundaryless. Now, that's not to say that you don't have boundaries, but it's to say expansion. Neptune is all about that expansion. Again, spirituality, transcendence, it's all about that expansion within the self in that higher level of consciousness. And again, being that higher octave of Venus, meeting Aries in this energy, it is a very interesting dynamic where the Neptune energy is really igniting the Aries energy, or I should say the Aries energy is igniting the Neptune energy. It's kind of happening at the same time. Aries again is fiery, assertive, action oriented. It is the leader. This is holy fire. This is the spiritual warrior. This is what your ascension is all about now. This is not just a dreamer, but it's someone who fights for the dream. This is cosmic courage. It is spiritual ignition. It is activism. It is action. And that's what we're seeing too. And if we pull back from our own experiences and look at the greater collective, we can actually see that playing out. People standing up for each other. That's what unity consciousness is. People standing up for each other. People standing up for human rights, for humanity. People standing up for not just a few, but for all. People wanting to be inclusive. People wanting to be accepting. We look at there are certain groups of people or certain collectives of people who look at woke culture as something that is frowned upon or something that is meant to be criticized or judged. To me, woke culture has been very misconstrued and hijacked and corrupted. Woke culture is just educated. And when I say educated, I mean aware, not just educated within like systems of schooling, etc. Although you learn, and you don't just learn through school, you learn through your own experiences. You learn by being aware. You learn by reading. You learn by immersing yourself and introducing yourself to new cultures. You learn by talking to people, connecting with people. That is how you learn. It's not just studies. It is open yourself to new experiences and letting that be inclusive, letting that be accepting. That's what woke culture truly is about, but it's gotten so misconstrued and so corrupted and so judged. But this is what spiritual activism is about. Spiritual activism is about standing up for what is right, morally right, standing up for yourself, standing up for others. We talked about this and channeled this in Yeshua and the Open Door. Yeshua was not a passive energy. Yeshua was an active energy. He was actively standing up for people who were disabled, people who were sick, people who were, being the word lame, which feels like a very old, ancient word, but that's the word that they're giving me. Lame as in unable to care for themselves, lame as in the forgotten, the destitute. So Yeshua stood for justice, and he could not stand injustice. And people did not like that because that was going against the status quo. That was going against what was the norm of the time, especially when there were sectioned or factions or fragments of society. Especially when people who were disabled or who were destitute were left to their own devices, who were kind of segmented from society. Yeshua was inclusive of all. He was saying, I see you as a soul. You are not abandoned. You are not forgotten. God never abandons or forgets you, no matter what you're experiencing, no matter what you're going through. That's what we're calling back to now. And you can see that in our world right now, where people are saying, hey, this is not right. This whatever's happening, especially thinking politically, where there is a separation that's occurring. Rather than creating more division, people are coming together and saying, I'm going to stand for my brother and my sister. That's the spiritual warrior. So it is a spiritual ignition. It is a fire that is rising, and you can see that. For a while, I really wrestled with this. I went through this over the past 9 months where I was really just feeling a sense of helplessness and hopelessness of how is this taking place in the world? But now I see that it was just the shadow that was being shown, and now there's light that is rising. There is a unity consciousness that is rising. And even though it looks like everything's being destroyed, again, Kali Ma reminds us that from destruction comes creation, and that there is a unity consciousness that is wrapping around all of us at this time, even if it looks like there is so much division. Look at the protests. What are they protesting? You're protesting indecency. You're protesting immorality. False performative Christ consciousness. It's not the real Christ consciousness of unity, not the real Christ consciousness of inclusion. They're protesting, people are protesting false morality, that status quo that people are following, right? And I've been railing against this for the past couple of months and talking about this in my blog, my Substack, The Mystic and the Muse. I've been talking about this in our channelings, where it is no longer about performative religion, performative spirituality. That is all crumbling. And we see this with Pluto moving into Aquarius now. We begin to see the crumbling of that. It is no longer enough to say or preach or talk the talk. It is about what are you embodying. And anything that is performative is being stripped away and is being revealed. So we'll talk about that now. Now, this is about embodiment. It's not just intuitive, but it's divine action. It is not passive. Spirituality is not a passive energy. Yeshua's Christ consciousness energy is not a passive energy. It is an active energy, and that is what Neptune in Aries is all about. We talked about this in the year ahead channeling, where I'm just going to go back to it for a second. We talked about how Neptune, again, is a dreamy spiritual energy, but of looking beyond the veil, higher states of consciousness, and how moving into Aries until 2039. So it's going to be in Aries until from now until 2039. How it's all about bringing the visionary into tangible form. So taking action. It's not enough just to fantasize and dream. It's about taking action. What are you doing? It's not enough anymore to just sit in at your altar and pray and dream of a new earth. What are you doing to create that new earth? How are you taking care of other people? How are you fighting against injustice? How are you creating programs and putting art out into the world? Action can look like a number of different things. You don't have to be on the front lines of protests. That might not be your role. That might not be your job. It could be something like this, where you are sharing yourself, where you are channeling higher energies of love and unique consciousness. It could be, I keep getting reminded of the woman, her name is Shirley. I found her on TikTok many years ago. She's been out on Skid Row. I think she's in Las Vegas now. She literally in her car takes food to the homeless. It could be some kind of activism like that. It could be your job. If you are even, and I'm not demeaning this or judging this by any way, I'm just pointing out that it could be you might be in a healing profession like a doctor or a medic, or you could be a janitor in a school, and your kindness recognizes the kid that has been forgotten, the kid that has been excluded, and your kindness, your compassion lights them up, makes them feel less alone. It is not about what you're doing, it's about who you are and the energy that you're bringing. But what are you doing? And again, I want to emphasize it's not necessarily what you're doing, although Aries energy is active energy. It's not necessarily what you're doing, it's the energy that you're bringing to it, the intention that you're bringing to it. That's what's most important. So, this energy is all about the trailblazers. It's all about people who have that vision, but who are bringing that into tangible physical form. And there are many people, many light workers who have already been doing this, who have gone through their own trial by fire, who have gone through their own initiation, and who have already been doing this. Like I said, for myself, I've been going through my spiritual journey for a very long time now, and I went through the fires of my own initiation, not just my ascension journey with my sacred heart and my twin flame, which brought me to another level, but my own initiation with Lyme disease, further before that, my own initiation with other experiences. And so Lyme disease is my greatest example because that taught me so much about myself. It initiated me into a new level of myself that made me able to prepared me for my ascension journey, which is the deeper aspect of yourself, the embodied aspect of yourself. But Lyme really brought me through the fire, and I created my nonprofit because I didn't want to see anybody else going through what I went through. And I have sat up with people in the middle of the night, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, answering emails, answering phone calls from people who were suicidal, going through their own darkness. And I said, it is okay. I have been there, and I will sit with you as we move through it, as you walk out of it. I have been with people through their fire because I said to myself, there is no way in hell I'm going to let this experience, my own experience, go without purpose. And that's what Neptune and Aries is all about. And it's happening on a greater collective. You might look at your own journey, look at your own life. Where have you carried that energy within yourself? And I'd invite you to share that because you are meant to be acknowledged. You know, you're meant to be, it's not about credit. It's not about recognition. It's not about pride, but you can acknowledge the fires that you've been through. You can acknowledge how you've held space for people. You can acknowledge the hell that you've been through and that you've wanted to create a different version of that for other people so that they don't walk through that hell alone. You can acknowledge that within yourself. And I want the comments to be open to you guys, if you feel called to acknowledge that for yourself too, so that we can acknowledge that for yourself too, because I know what it's like to carry the weight. I know what it's like to hold space for people, and feel like, what is it for? Well, it's for this. It's for the greater collective. This is happening on a collective scale now. And so if you have felt alone, if you have felt like I've been holding space and I've been there for people, and I walk through the fires of my own hell, and like there's no acknowledgement, let us acknowledge you now. It is for this purpose. You have blazed the trail for others, and that is meant to be acknowledged too. So this is for those who have turned their pain into purpose and purpose into passion. It's those who have been through the fire and walked out of it. It's a popular meme, who have been through the fire and walked out of it carrying buckets of water for other people. This is who you are as a spiritual leader. And this Neptune in Aries is really showing us who those spiritual leaders are. Again, this is new leaders who embody that spiritual wisdom. It is not performative spirituality anymore. And can you have that discernment? Are you aware of who is performative and who is real? It's all about the real and the raw now. That's what Neptune is revealing. It's about the real and the raw. Who is not just talking the talk and who sounds good, but who is really walking the walk. That's what this is about. It's about authentic spirituality versus performative. And anything that's performative is crumbling. And it's not just crumbling by, being revealed. You see this in influencers right now, where anything where there was influencers, people who had held influence but not from a place of integrity, that's crumbling, right? It's not just about that. It's also about who is embodying their integrity, who's embodying their dignity, who's embodying that spiritual wisdom. And again, it's not for the performance, it's not for the credit, although you're meant to be acknowledged, you're meant to be supported too. There's a false paradigm in the spiritual community of the healer just needs to heal. Well, the healer needs healing too. The healer needs support too. The guide needs guidance too. I have my own spiritual mentors. I have my own spiritual guides. We're all teachers and students at the same time. And anybody who says otherwise, question that. Use your discernment. And that's what's being shown to us. It's being very clear where that rising is coming from. That rising is meant to come from integrity. That rising is meant to come from true authenticity. That rising is meant to come from those who are connected fully to their soul. That's the new spiritual warrior. This is the warrior template, the healer warrior template. We channeled this in the very beginning 7 years ago, the healer warrior template. And I talk about this in my book, The Unity Code, as well. The healer warrior template is 2 aspects of you. We talk about this in terms of the sacred union, where it's the feminine energy is more of the healer, the masculine energy is more of the warrior. But remember, you hold both energies within you. And so the healer warrior template is you. Whether you're a core masculine or a core feminine, it is you. That's your union. You are both the healer and the warrior. And this is the rise of that new template. This is those who are embodying the bridge. You're not just up here in your spiritual world. You're anchoring that into your human life. And that's where it's meant to be. There's nothing against being in meditation or practicing at your spiritual practice at your altar, or finding connection in the gardens, the forests, the woods. There's nothing judgmental about that. If that's where you connect, that's where you connect. I find connection in the forest. There's that phrase, into the woods I go to lose my mind and find my soul. I find connection, always have, in nature, with God, in nature. But it's also about who are you when you're navigating the grocery store, the crowded grocery store. Who are you when you are with your family, who is a true reflection of you, a more intimate reflection of you. When you're with your family, they've known you through all stages of your life. And this could be, blood family, soul family. They have known you through all iterations of your life, and thus you're very vulnerable in that stance. Who are you? Who are you anchored into? Who are you embodying? It's no longer performative, it's no longer inauthentic. Who are you in all aspects and every day? That's the bridge. It's no longer one thing or the other. It's no longer spiritual or human. You're meant to be the bridge of both. You are the bridge of both. You're bringing that template down. You are the healer warrior. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about my own spiritual initiation and how, like I said, the reason why I feel so passionate about this is because, especially in this channeling, is because I'm going through this in real time. It feels like expansion. I feel like I am ready. And we channeled this in our previous Sacred Union Energy update, the start of something new, where the feminine feels like she's poised, she's ready. She's ready for the new. And what does that new mean? Well, it could mean a number of different things. It could be a new job, new career, new relationship, new dynamics of old relationships, the way that you're relating. It could be new stability with and security with finances. It doesn't have to be physical, however. It's just a new embodiment of yourself, the expanded version of yourself. For myself, I was shown where I was still staying small. I was shown where I was no longer connected to what's no longer aligned to me. I was shown where I'm ready to expand, and I felt that fire ignite within me as I was going through this process and journaling. I felt that fire ignite, and I said, this is where the wound is coming from, because I'm literally being shown that I'm ready to expand. And the triggers that I was feeling this morning is literally just that expansion. I am ready. I am ready for that expansion. No longer hiding myself, no longer playing small, no longer diminishing myself, undervaluing myself, recognizing my own wisdom, recognizing my own truth, recognizing what I bring to this world. And I share my own experiences because I want you to reflect that too within yourself, to empower yourself. Where are you ready to grow? Where are you ready to transform? Where are you ready to empower yourself? Where are you ready to expand? Because you are. You are ready to expand. If you're feeling this sacred fire within you, it's because you're ready to expand. You don't have to hold yourself back. So it might feel like you're still in a void or a pause, and that's where I'm feeling my own frustration, but there is energetic movement and there is divine alignment. And so I had channeled some affirmations I'm going to read to you in case this is connecting with you as well. I choose joy, not as a reward, but as my birthright. I choose relationships that reflect what I give in reciprocity. I choose money that flows with ease because I am the value. And the more I'm in overflow, the more I have to offer. I choose experiences for expansion. I choose fun and play to thrive and feel alive. I choose work that feels light, not a burden to carry. I choose purpose that feels like freedom. I choose romance that softens the heart instead of tests it. I choose love that soothes the soul instead of needing to prove itself. I choose those who see me in my depth, my light. I choose to be held and seen and met. Not someday, but now. I am the space. I am the portal. I am the becoming. I am the healer warrior. Can you feel the fire? Can you feel the Neptunian energy of that higher octave of Venus, that energy of love, that energy of spiritual transcendence and connectedness, along with that initiation of that Aries energy of leadership and fire, that ignition? This is the initiation into the holy fire. This is the sacredness of yourself. To recognize that your life and spirituality aren't separate. You are the bridge. You are one. It is one as whole. Your spiritual life isn't separate from your human existence. It is meant to be served as one. They're not separate from each other. Life demands action, not passivity. Sometimes you're meant to sit in the stillness, but there's still energetic movement. You're still receiving guidance. And when you attune to that energy, you're really allowing yourself, when you sit in the stillness and sit in the silence, you allow yourself to receive that guided action, that next step. Not from the ego, not from what you think you should be doing, but where you're guided to go. And that's where you're trusting in God's source, the universe, higher power, whatever it is that you feel comfortable calling it, whatever it is that you connect to, that's where you're guided. You're guided to trust and anchor in that faith. This is the holy fire within you. This is the holy remembrance, the embodiment of that fire within you, because this is you embodying that love. And like we channeled in that Sacred Union energy update, and these Sacred Union energy updates are getting deeper and deeper and deeper. This love is not a passive love, it is an active love. It is not a love that is casual or shallow. It is a deep love. It is a sacred love. It is a love that is part of your very being, your entire soul. It is a love that expands, that doesn't retract. It is a love that ripples out, that doesn't diminish. It is a love that empowers, that doesn't make you smaller, that doesn't restrict. It is a love that you have felt across lifetimes, that you have felt since the beginning of this incarnation, but maybe old patterns and wounding held you back out of fear from that love. This is a sacred love, a divine love that is expansive. This is who you are. This is the holy fire, the holy love that is being activated within you now. The old burns away. That's what this holy fire is all about. The old burns away, and you are reborn. When the old burns away, you're not left with nothing. You're left with love. You're left with who you truly are. You're left with your authentic self, and your authentic self isn't just it's not just who you think you ought to be. It is who you truly are on every level. And you can still be you. That's what it means to be the bridge of the spiritual and the human. You're still you. You still enjoy your human life in the way that you love it. You still like the foods you like, although that can change. You still like the sports you like, the music you like. For myself, I love musicals. I love hockey. I love my animals. I love all sorts of things that makes up the unique essence of my identity and who I am. You don't release the identity of who you are. You release all of who you're not. You still get to enjoy your human life and all the joy and pleasures of human life. You're not meant to deny that aspect of yourself. You're meant to embrace it. You're meant to thrive in it. But you're also meant to connect deeper to your soul self. That's your authentic self, your soul self, trusting in that, initiating in that, empowering yourself in that, loving yourself in all aspects of that. When we're talking about connecting to your soul self, we're talking about the truth of who you are, not holding yourself back. This rebirth can feel vulnerable and raw, but ultimately it brings us closer to that truth of ourselves, that we are simply love and all those expressions of that love. A couple weeks ago, I got the phrase, the first stanza or the first line of a poem, "Do not go gentle into that good night." And I wrote it down, and I feel called to share it here. It's a poem by Dylan Thomas. Many of you probably heard it. "Do not go gentle into that good night, rage, rage against the dying of the light." I'm going to read it here. What this means for me as we're channeling this: do not go gentle into that good night. This is the epitome of Neptune and Aries. This is the epitome of you. Neptune and Aries is the epitome of the spiritual warrior. Neptune and Aries is you. It is who you're meant to be, the bridge of the spiritual and the human, of the higher consciousness and the active energy. That's what Neptune and Aries is showing us. It's showing us a new way of leadership, leadership by example, leadership within ourselves. And it's not just being on a platform, although some might be called to higher levels of of platforms and higher levels of maybe, speaking and being within the greater context is what I'm talking about, within the greater community, within the greater world. Some might be called to higher levels, but it's leadership by example with everyday life, with who you are. Again, the janitor in the schools, the medic, the the person in the grocery store. Who are you in everyday life is an active energy. You're not meant to be passive. Not anymore. Neptune and Aries is saying, not anymore. This is courage, cosmic courage. This is initiation by fire, feeling that ignition, that spiritual fire rising within you to take action within your own life and for the benefit of all. For the new earth that we're creating, the new world that we're creating. It's an active energy. So do not go gentle into that good night. I'm going to read the full poem now. Do not go gentle does not mean do not hold compassion. It means with that compassion, with that love. Again, that Kalima energy with that nurturing energy of perhaps Mother Mary or Mary Magdalene. It's both. Yeshua was the embodiment of both, of all. He was the masculine and the feminine template. He was the union of all. That's what your ascension journey, especially your sacred union ascension journey, is reminding you of and bringing you home to the all, the union within yourself. And it is not a passive energy. It is an active energy of embodiment. So when we say do not go gentle, it does not mean don't be compassionate or don't be loving. It means let that compassionate fire light you up and make a change. Make a change within your own life and make a change for the world itself. Because the more that you're embodying that for your own life, the more that has a ripple effect, because everything is interconnected. Everything is interconnected. What you do has a ripple effect on the all. Don't ever deny that. Don't ever negate that about yourself. Don't ever forget that about yourself. I'm going to end with this poem, reading this poem, and take a moment, sit with it, see how it relates to you within your own personal journey or with regards to this collective channeling. And do let me know in the comments how it's resonating for you. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning they, do not go gentle into that good night. Good men, the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight, and learned too late they grieved it on its way. Do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men, near death, who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on the sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. I am sending you so much love and so much light, and we'll see you soon.